It's Lara again, and we're ready for day 2. Let's make a kangaroo pocket and work on the super cool Welt pocket. All right, here we are ready for day 2 of our Leslie and Lester sew along, and we are going to work on the kangaroo pocket and the Welt pocket. We're going to start with the kangaroo pocket. So I have my pattern piece cut out here, and now we just have to prep it for sewing it onto our top. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the wrong side up. All right, so we can see this is nice and vibrant. This is a little fuzzy. That is the wrong side. Now, we are going to, you do not have to use wash away wonder tape, but I do find it helpful in situations like this. So there's one side and two sides on these angled edges here. Okay, we're going to fold the diagonal edges of the kangaroo pocket in 3/4 of an inch to the wrong side. All right, so I press down my wonder tape. Let's take the paper off. Okay, now we're going to fold it and measure 3/4 of an inch. And there we go. All right, now you're gonna head over to your sewing machine, and using a double needle, a zigzag, or a cover stitch, you're going to stitch along this edge here to put those sides down, all right? Okay, now that we've done that, we are going to place some wash away wonder tape across the top here. Or you can just fold it over. Just be careful. I don't think you really want to press fleece. If you're using fleece, don't press it. If you're using a fabric that can be pressed, that can handle the heat, then by all means use your iron. However, if you have wash away wonder tape, especially with fleece, this makes life so much easier. We're going to fold this top down 3/8 of an inch. Just give it a check here and there. Now, okay, now we're going to do the same thing with our sides here. Okay, we're going to fold those towards the wrong side, 3/8 of an inch. All right, so if you are doing the hemmed version, you are going to fold this up another 3/8 inch on the bottom, all the way across that bottom raw edge. All right, that's if you're doing the hemmed version. Okay, if you're not hemming it and you're doing the banded version, just keep that raw edge raw. All right, now let's move that to the side a little bit. Now we've got our bodice. You can see here, here's our front bodice. We're going to fold our bodice in half. We want to get the center point. Okay, now you can use a pin or you can use a clip, but you need to mark that center point. Okay, you're also going to want to fold your pocket in half and mark the center point there. Okay, open up our front bodice. Let's open that up. All right, we've got our center marked. Now this is for the banded version. If you're doing the hemmed version, just hang on a second. If you're doing the banded version, we have this raw edge at the bottom. We're going to line up our center markings to the raw edge. All right? And then we're going to clip in place. All right, and you're going to want to put pins here and here. I even put some pins in the center just to keep it in place. I don't want it moving around. Hopefully you can see all this. I'm sorry if I was out of the shot. Okay, so now you're just going to attach it with pins here and in the center, just so it doesn't get wonky and move around at all. Now you're going to go to your sewing machine, and you are going to sew across the sides, using a stretch stitch, cover stitch, or zigzag, and along the top. All right, you can then baste it on the bottom if you like. It's up to you. But once you've done that and you stitched here and here, if you're doing the banded version, technically you're done with the bodice prep. You can move that to the side. All right, so let's assume we're doing the hemmed version. So let me, oops. You still have to find the center of your bodice. Should not have taken the pin out of there. For heaven's sakes. Okay, just want to make sure we've got our center. All right, let's set that to the side real quick. So we will use our Wonder Tape, and we'll fold this up 3/8 of an inch, just like we said we would earlier. So now that we have turned that right side up, we have stitched here, we've top stitched here. That's the opening that our hands will go in. Now we've got this taped or pinned. We're ready to move on to our bodice. So let's move our pocket to the side. Let's grab our bodice. We have found the center of our bodice. All right. Now, what you're going to do next is you're going to grab a writing utensil, and we need to measure up because we're going to be hemming this. We don't want to put the pocket all the way down to the bottom. So we're going to measure up 2 inches, and we're going to mark that right here. Okay. Mark it however you need to. Now, find the center of the bottom of your pocket so that you can line up that center mark with your marking 2 inches from the bottom. So right here. Now you're going to pin this in place. You can see you've got a 2 inches here. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take this, now that we've clipped it all together, you can even use wash away Wonder Tape to adhere it to your bodice. You're going to go to your sewing machine and you're going to sew using a cover stitch, stretch stitch, or zigzag these bottom 3 edges. Do not sew here. Then you're going to sew across the top. That way you have an opening for your hands here. All right, so across the top and then down the sides and down across the bottom. And then your kangaroo pocket will be done. Okay, let's move on to the welt pockets. This should be super fun. Okay, here we are. We are ready to start our welt pocket. We've already discussed how we're going to handle our kangaroo pocket. It's time to move on to the welt pocket. Now I'm showing this to you to show you that I did complete our welt pocket. I will happily admit that I screwed it up twice before I got it right on this one. So pay close attention to those diagrams. They will be of great assistance to you. Don't be like me and think you know what you're doing. No, I did pay attention to the diagrams. I just didn't pay attention closely enough. So I'm going to show you how I did it. And yeah, so it is done on this panel. So I have my bodice piece. All right, and as you can see, I have marked, well, hopefully you can see, I don't know how much you can see in this light. I have marked the rectangles from the pattern piece. So what you need to do, let me grab my pattern piece, is you just need to grab your pattern piece. You're gonna line up the side seams here, okay? And then you're going to trace, I cut the rectangle out, that makes it easiest, and you trace around the rectangle, all right? You flip it over to do the other side, you trace around it, no big deal, okay? Now, we'll do something similar to our, what is this called? Welt pocket binding. That's this piece, if I can get it on here right. Here we go. This is our welt pocket binding. Now you can see my my pattern pieces, my paper pattern piece is a little, yeah, interesting. I had a lot of problems. I don't know what my brain was doing. Yesterday was not a good day. So today we're gonna get this right. Now, I've cut out my pieces. What I have also done is I have put a dot in each of the 4 corners of the rectangle on here. I did that on both of the wrong sides of this pattern piece, all right? And then I connected it and made a rectangle. You are going to do that as well, all right? Because you're gonna be matching up these rectangles. Now, here's where it gets, for some reason for me, got a little weird. My brain just didn't compute it properly twice. It was extremely frustrating. So we have our pattern pieces. Now, if we compare our binding piece to our what am I saying? The binding piece to the actual pattern piece. It says top right here. So you just want to make sure that, because this goes like this, that the top is at the top, all right? Now, you have the rectangle here, and you have about, I don't know, whatever this is, 1.5 inches, an inch of extra fabric on this side. But on the other side, you have about, I don't know, almost 2.5 inches on the outside of the rectangle. This is important. Placement is everything. This is where I screwed it up. So what you're going to do, move some of my junk out of the way here, is you want to make sure that your pattern pieces are lined up so the side that has the 2.5 inch extra piece, extra fabric, those are pointing towards each other, which is pointing towards the center. I don't know if that makes sense. There is a picture in the tutorial. Look closely at the placement in that picture. All right, so it's going to look something like this. All right, that's what it's going to look like. You're going to have the inch pointing towards the side seams, that extra inch of fabric. That extra 2.5 inches is going to be pointing towards the center of your bodice, so and towards each other. All right, I cannot stress how important this placement is to you. If you switch it around like I did twice, what's going to happen is your welt, your actual pocket, is going to be on the wrong side. Don't be like me. Do it right. All right, so that's the placement. Look at the pictures and the diagrams. They're there to help you. All right, so we're going to start with this side, okay? And what we're going to do, we're going to match this triangle up and this, or not triangle, this rectangle up and this rectangle up. So just take your time, okay? Match those up and pin them in place. Oops, I didn't do that one. Just that one. Now let's move to the next side. All right, now we're going to match up this rectangle. I almost said triangle again. Now let's look at this before we move on to the sewing machine. And you guys might think I'm crazy. You all might think I'm crazy for reiterating this, but it is important. The 1 inch overhang from your drawn on rectangle points on either side toward the side seams. The 2.5 inches here points toward the center of the bodice or toward one another, okay? This is important. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to head to my sewing machine. I'm going to stitch around on the line of this rectangle all the way around, all right? And I will be right back. All right. Now grab a writing utensil, a marker. My fleece is really difficult to write on or to mark on. What you're going to do is you're going to measure up the center of each of the short ends, 3/8 inch, and you're going to mark it. Whoa, there's that. 3/8 inch, and then another 3/8 inch there. And I'm marking these with an actual marker so that you can see them. Normally I wouldn't use this. All right, now you're going to go from that center point and you're going to mark, this is how I do it, out to the corners. So it looks like you have a triangle. This is for you only. This is not, you don't have to do this part. It just helps to see things better, okay? Then you're going to connect these two lines up the center or down the center, however you want to do it. You can use a ruler or whatever, it's up to you. Okay, this is a guide, a visual guide as you're cutting. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut. All right, we're going to cut through both the bodice and the pocket through this, in this triangle. I keep saying triangle, in this rectangle. So what I do is I take it and I fold it in on itself. So just like this. Then I take my scissors and on the line I clip, okay? And that can be hard because the fabric is so thick because you want to get through both layers. Okay, and I've done that. Now I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to go all the way down the straight line, the center line. Okay. Using a small, very sharp set of scissors is a whole lot easier than this, but my small scissors are terrible, so I'm stuck. Okay, now we're gonna cut on those triangle lines, those angled lines that made our triangle. We're gonna cut up to the stitch line. Be really careful not to go through the stitch line. That's gonna cause a problem. But as close as you can get to the stitch line is gonna be great. You just wanna get as close as you can. That's just gonna help it to look really clean. Okay, now we're gonna do the other side of that triangle. Okay, now the bottom triangle. And the other side of that triangle. All right, now let's repeat that on this side. All right, here we are. We've got our openings now. All right, now what we're going to do is we are going to take our pocket, our pieces here, and we're gonna push it all to the inside. All of it, the whole thing on both sides. Okay, just push it to the inside. Or the wrong side, I should say. Turn your bodice over. Okay, any of it that didn't come through, go ahead and pull through. Here we are. Okay. All right, now what we're going to do, if I wasn't using fleece, I'd press this, but my fleece will melt. And that is no fun. Okay. If you find that you have a lot of puckering in the corners, that just means you didn't cut close enough to the stitch line. Mine look pretty decent, not perfect, but decent. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm looking at the instructions. I am on step 3. We've pushed the binding through the pocket opening to the back of the bodice, which we did that. It says use wash away water tape to tape along around the edge opening. Now, we did that here. You could do that here as well, just to make it all kind of just stay down. Okay, this just keeps everything in place and makes life easier. Now, so here we are. What we're going to do is we're going to fold this all the way over like that. Then we are going to, well, first let's mark our fold line here. So this is the first fold line. You've got your pattern piece. There's a fold line in the center. That's right here on this stitch line. So right there. So if we match that up there, grab a writing utensil. You don't have to do this. I mean, this is just me trying to show you what to do here. Okay, that's our fold line. That's where we'll be folding. All right. So now that we have that marked, we're just going to fold this back like this. And I even have it marked on the other side too, just so I can see. Okay, so you're folding it, whoops, on that line back towards this direction. Okay, just like that. You're going to need to pin or tape this in place. I'm actually going to put some tape right here, or you can put tape all across the top here. Now, if we flip this over to the right side, you can see this is where your welt is, the welt part of the pocket, and it's super pretty. All right, so we're going to repeat everything we just did on the other side here. Here's what we see when we turn it over to the right side. Now the thing about the wash away wonder tape is it just keeps it all in place, like I keep saying, and it's going to make the next step a little bit easier. We don't have to contend with pins or whatever. Now we're going to head to our sewing machine and we're going to top stitch around each of these rectangles, okay? And that's going to pull it all together and make it look pretty stinking fancy. I really enjoy the way this looks. All right, let's go to the sewing machine. Okay, here we are. We can see how well we've done. It looks super, super pretty. And I can move on to the next step. I'm very excited about how this has turned out. Now, the next thing we need to do, I'm gonna move to my other bodice, my other finished bodice. I'll finish this one up later. Now it says, we're on step 4, which is on page 25 of the tutorial. Let's start there. And it says, turn your front bodice so it's wrong side up. We're gonna place our welt pocket back face down, lining it up with the hem, if you're doing a top, or the welt pocket, the bottom of the welt pocket binding. So let's turn it over. Okay, now we're going to open this up and we're going to line it up just like this. Perfect, lines up perfectly. Now we're just going to pin it in place. Now you could use wash away wonder tape here if you like. Now you could choose, I'm using fleece for everything. Fleece for the welt pockets, fleece for this pocket back as well. So think about what your machine can handle, because this can get really, really thick. Like I've got a lot of layers going on here, and fleece can be really thick, and sometimes sewing machines really hate it. But I'm gonna power through and see how we do, right? So we pinned that all in place. We're gonna sew our welt pocket back to the welt pocket binding. All right, we're going to stitch this all the way around towards the edge. This is going to stitch it to the pocket binding and to our bodice as well. So let's head to our sewing machine and let's stitch that down. Okay, here we go. All right, we've got our pocket sewn on. Oh my goodness, I'm super excited about this now. Oh, I was excited before, but now I'm excited even more. All right, we are done with both of our kangaroo pocket, and our welt pocket. Oh, this is so stinking cute. So I will see you tomorrow for day 3.